Oh, no.
Whoa. Let me remove myself.
Well, technical difficulties, everybody. You got to see Amanda first. But anyway, welcome to Through the Eyes of Survivors. We are definitely live. There's a phrase people use when something awful happens. They say it very casually, and it's almost like wisdom. It's obvious. It and they act like it explains everything. You should have known. And I've heard that phrase in a lot of different forms over the years. Sometimes it is said out loud, and sometimes it's implied. Sometimes it just kind of hangs in the air unspoken, and it feels very heavy all at the same time. And I remember the first time I ever walked into a courthouse with my daughter Ashley to file a protective order. And she had been dealing with things that no one should ever have to endure. And we were very scared. Not dramatic scared, but really scared. And it's the kind of scared where your body feels like it's just tingling all over and you're shaking and your thoughts just don't, line up in the right way. And for her, it was the kind of scared that comes from knowing that something isn't right, even if you don't yet have the words for it. And the clerk asked who the protective order was for that day. And Ashley said his name, Joshua Mahaffey. And the woman behind the counter looked at her and looked at me and her friend and looked back at her computer and almost said very casually, "Oh, well, you should have known what you were getting into with that one." And I don't think she meant it to change our lives with that sentence. I don't think she really thought about it at all. But I have. I've thought about it for years. And because what she was really saying was that my daughter should have already known who he was, that she should have some kind of access to information, but we didn't have it, that she should have been able to see this pattern, but yet none of us knew it and nobody had shown us it. Ashley didn't grow up there. She didn't know his family. She didn't know his history. We lived over an hour away, and this uh, wasn't a small town story that we were just some part of, that everybody knew there. This man who entered my daughter's life without any visible warning signs. And what we found out later is the part that still it sits in my chest very heavily. She wasn't the first. She wasn't even close. You know, there were wives, there were girlfriends, there were a sister-in-law, prior charges, repeated behavior, escalation, patterns that were already there long before my daughter ever met that man. But none of that was accessible to us. There was no registry, no centralized place to look, no public record that said this is not isolated, and no system that said this is a pattern, no way to know that Ashley, what she was experiencing wasn't new. It was very familiar. And it took time and digging and phone calls and paper trails, fragmented information pieces that only came together after damage had already been done. And that's the part people don't understand when they say you should have known. Known what? What wasn't visible, what wasn't public, what wasn't disclosed, and what no one warned us about. You can't protect yourself from what you're not allowed to see. So Tennessee has now created the first domestic violence offender registry for their state. And I want to be clear about something before we go any further. Laws like this don't happen because the system just suddenly becomes proactive. They happen because someone died. They happen because warning signs are ignored, because patterns were minimalized, because survivors were told it wasn't serious enough yet, and because fear wasn't considered evidence, because instincts weren't believed. They happen after a tragedy. When I hear about this registry, I don't think about policy. I don't think about legal language. I think about Ashley. I think about what it would have meant to type in his name and see the truth. I think about how different our decisions may have been in those moments. And I think about how different her life may have been. And I think about how many survivors have been blamed for not knowing something they were never given access to. So this registry is an admission that domestic violence isn't random, that it repeats, it escalates, it follows patterns, but it's also an admission that for a very long time, survivors were expected to predict their own danger without information, and mothers were blamed for not seeing what systems hid. So today, we're not just talking about what this law is, we're talking about why it exists and what it still misses. So this is Through the Eyes of Survivors, Uncensored.
Important notice: the following content may be triggering. Viewer discretion is advised. All discussions are based on personal opinions and experiences. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to a local support organization. Important notice.
Well, welcome back. As you could tell from the opening, I'm very passionate about this particular topic that Amanda and I are definitely going to get into details about. But before we get into that, of course, I have to plug our great affiliates. Starting with TrueFinder, I want to take a quick moment to talk to you about something that can really empower you in your journey towards safety and healing. It is called TrueFinder. Now, it is a simple tool that helps you uncover some public records and background information about the people you may encounter in your life. I have used it before, specifically for the incidents we talked about earlier. But whether you're reconnecting with someone from your past or you just want to ensure the people around you are trustworthy, TrueFinder can provide you with some of the information you may need to make those informed decisions. And we are all about creating safe spaces and giving survivors tools they need to reclaim their power. That's why we're excited about TrueFinder being an affiliate with us. So please try it out. Support our podcast. Visit the link. And thank you for supporting our mission on that. Also, Opus Clips. It's an AI-driven platform helping us turn powerful podcast moments into short, impactful clips. From survivor stories to hard truths, Opus Clips helps us amplify our voices and spread an awareness across all our platforms. So, if you want to turn your content into scroll stopping reels and shorts, try out Opus Clips. Use our affiliate link for a special. And lastly, our self defense keychain store. We're proud to partner with them as an affiliate. This is a woman and minority owned business that is committed to empowering individuals with practical, discreet, and stylish self defense tools. And by shopping through our affiliate link, you're not only investing in your personal safety, you're also supporting our mission to amplify our voices here and raise awareness about domestic violence. Use the code Break the Silence for your 10% off. So, we're talking about Tennessee creating this first domestic violence offender registry. It's important to understand that it just didn't come out of nowhere, right? This wasn't some abstract policy idea. It wasn't a proactive move. It was a response.
Yes.
And that does matter. So, yeah, Amanda, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so as Tara just said, Tennessee just created their first domestic violence offender registry. In the United States, it's a public list of people who's been convicted of certain domestic violence crimes more than once. And it officially started January 1st of this year, 2026. It was caused, as Tara said, not out of thin air. It was because of a law called the Savannah Law, named after Savannah Pickett, a sheriff's deputy, who was killed by her ex-boyfriend, unfortunately, in 2022. So it was a case that basically would have shown that if there was a tracking system to his past history, this could have been easily prevented, as Tara said. And it's hard as a survivor for me to get through that sentence, as you probably can tell right now.
Yeah, because most domestic violence laws never come from prevention. Most of them come from aftermath. They come from the headlines. And I have been a part of those headlines and been a part of the public outrage that come from these kinds of stories. And it's unfortunate that it takes the system, it forces the system to admit they missed something before they do something this significant. Which brings me to the real question. Why did the registry have to exist in the first place?
Right. And why does things have to be put in light for them to be taken seriously? And what happens to the other people that doesn't get the spotlight?
Mm-hmm. Right, because this was someone known in her community.
Right, rightfully so. And, I'm not taking that away.
Yes.
But we also need to understand there's women out there that has no one. No one. And they deserve much as justice as anybody else in this law, this registry. This should have been, a long time coming. And I think the thing, Tara, too, is what we talk about as survivors is we also have people coming out of the woodwork when we're far in, right? Like we've already had a life with this person, we've had children with these person, and then you're pregnant and you have women calling you saying, hey, he's, blah, blah. And then, you have the whole, she's crazy, and then you hear other things. But then when you actually come out of it, you're like, that was real. But when you have something by court, right, saying this is real, this is by law, that is a whole different peace of mind. Because when you are a domestic violence victim, you are coerced and brainwashed to believe that your abuser knows all. He everybody, what they say wrong about him is wrong. It's all their fault. And for a while, you're lost in that. But to be able to look at something definite, like legit, that's a whole other level, Tara. And as you said, if your daughter could have easily accessed that instead of being told by a clerk at a courthouse.
Yeah. She was treated like she was an idiot.
But she had no proof. No proof. No,
No way of knowing.
no, no. And these men, they change up their locations, their friend groups very fast, so that once their butt shows, those people who saw it are like ghosted. They are no longer, they're disposed because now you saw a part of them that they don't want to have to defend or deny. So they go on to other people who think that they're great again, find a new girlfriend in that group, and you're made to look like crazy. He makes up some backstory. Oh, she brainwashed these people. So it's so hard for people to believe in word of mouth because they've been there. It's so hard because I've had women call me and tell me I was the crazy one. And to watch, he told me to watch out for me. Like, okay.
Right.
Like, and so, I fulfill, and there's things we have online today, right? Because I remember when I was in my 20s, there was a website or a Facebook group. I don't remember what it was called. Don't Date Him Girl. I don't know if you remember hearing that, Tara, but it was like a website where women would post. And here's the thing, and I still see it on Facebook where they'll go, don't date him, Tinder, or different things, like where they'll tell, hey, I went on a date with this guy, and then other people will come in. But you can only do so much with that because, again, that's word of mouth. You can't be slaughtering someone's character. That's only word of mouth. And still for certain people, that's not enough. And that's dangerous, honestly. That's dangerous. So to have this controlled like this would have prevented so much, even for people who dating websites, because they say we're not reliable for who you meet on here. So if you get hurt and something happens, but this list could be something that could help these be prevented in all different aspects, right?
It's one of those things that's a long time coming. The technology we have had could have been done years and years ago. I mean, my daughter passed 13 years ago, and there was talk of trying to create a domestic violence registry from different states back then. And even I've seen all kinds of groups try to push a national one. And you would think with the technology we have, it would be super easy. But that's the problem. They treat it like it's random. They treat it like it's like so unpredictable. It just comes out of nowhere. But all of us as survivors, if you're a survivor out there, that's not true. Abuse doesn't get a headline every time in the newspaper when the police are called. No. And it rarely begins with hospital visits. That's not how it begins. It doesn't, and people don't have this dramatic force into intervention either when it begins. It's very quiet and insidious. We control and pressure and isolation and monitoring, all the emotional punishment and jealousy in disguise as love, and concern about where you're going and who you're with. And then it escalates. And it's not all at once, but it's consistent.
It is. It is. And I think that, again, the one thing, Tara, I do have to say with this list, and as we're talking about this, is that they have to have not one conviction, 2 domestic violence convictions to be put on this list.
Right.
And see, that does have some concerns for me.
Me
and
too.
I'm sure it does for you too, because we've lived this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you, someone's good and great until they get caught. So here's the thing. There could still actively be someone being out there, not on that list because they're abusing, but they have not been caught. They have not been convicted, or they've been convicted once, or
maybe they weren't convicted. Maybe they just had a PO.
Maybe
no conviction.
Right?
You're not going to find that on that registry.
No. So this isn't as easy as we think. It was going to okay, you got called because you had a domestic violence incident with your girlfriend. There was evidence that you hit her in the face. You went to jail that night. No, that's not going to be slapped on the list that day. There has to be two.
It's a pattern. It's the same. Here's my thought in my head when I was reading over it and looking at it. Initial response was great about time, but as you start to investigate it, it really, for me, hits the same pattern of what we already deal with when the cops are called, because the system comes out to document it, and it keeps happening, and you keep calling them and they keep going, oh, we only see the one incident here on the books, something ain't right. Well, you get told, oh, there isn't enough there yet.
Yep. Because
And you're sent back into the situation over and over again, and it feels like, to me, that it has really good potential. It is a start, but it feels like being thrown back in to that again, because if you're the very first one, it's like not an acknowledgement, because your incident won't be on that registry for the next person, and it's only, from what I understand, the one incident. I mean, if there's multiple, and they drop it, or if, like I said, protective orders, that's not going to be listed on there. Somebody could have 20 protective orders and not one conviction. And it feels like the system is requiring a buildup still. That the system still is only going to respond to the aftermath.
Yeah. That's my concern, is I feel like, again, this will be something that could be good, and it could be something, as again, it's just the aftermath of, again, like, we're waiting for, let's just wait until a second time around for this to happen. But again, there might not be charges the second time around. There might not be any kind of, and why does it have to take two times? That was what was odd to me, was why two times? Mm-hmm. Especially with severities of it. Like, I could see if they did like different severities of it, but two times, like,
that's a gap that gets people hurt. Why?
Why does it have to happen more than once?
Because the statistics show they do it once, they're going to do it again. So why not be the preventative for the next person? But instead, we're going to wait until they establish a pattern. But the pattern was the 5, 6, 7 times that he did that to her, the first one.
And, again, I just, as you said before, I think it's great, but the pattern of the way that abuse works isn't always in patterns that they want it to be proof. I felt that, like, when I would call, especially as you say, like, you call them out for an incident, and sometimes they're like, I can't do anything here. There's not, as you said, not enough proof. And sometimes I feel like they're trying to talk you down. They're trying to talk the victim back. Like, well, I can't really do anything about, I mean, I can remember so many times there was things that was escalated with my baby. Like, my older, she's now 16, but she was a baby. And they'd be like, well, that's custody issues, and we don't get involved with custody issues. And I'm like, no, this is domestic violence, and this is my child being involved in domestic violence, and her safety, and her being used. So I feel.
What does it teach people? Yeah, I mean, I know when I was in my abuse, it taught me I wasn't allowed to ask for help.
No, and if you do, you feel like you're the perpetrator. You feel like you're the abuser sometimes. Like, you feel like you're having to make them believe you. And that is so triggering for a survivor, because are already being controlled. We are already being told how to act and, being questioned and gaslighted. And then you're going to authority and someone's looking at you like, well, how do you know? Or, how do you, like, just certain things? Because I always felt that they were annoyed that they were called out.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't actively catch him on top of me, there was nothing they could do. Coming into a trashed house and showing marks on my, well, that's just not enough proof. We need more proof. Listening to voicemails again wasn't enough for them. I feel like, again, it was just, we're going to handle this the way we want to handle it, whether it's proactive to you and your safety or what I don't want to deal with at this moment. And I'm saying that from experience, not judgment. I can't even explain, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts of women getting arrested during domestic violence incidents because they called for protection and they end up so this woman's always going to have first offense. You know what I mean? Like, how do we know? Like, so that's what I'm saying. How do we know that these two, and I never heard like a 2 strike you're out kind of thing. I've always heard like, 3 strikes you're out, right? But I've never heard like 2. So I'm kind of guess in my head, I'm going, where was the 2 efficient enough for them to say, okay, this is enough. This is where the threshold is.
Well, the good thing about the registry is it is an admission. It's an admission that the narrative that everyone has repeated up until this point is false. The system for years has treated victims like each victim like they're a new victim, like it's the first time, and like this person has never harmed anyone else. And they're finally starting to admit that it does have buildup, it does escalate, it does repeat. And so that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But, the problem is it has been created because they finally couldn't ignore it. And that distinction to me really matters. Because responding to harm is not the same thing as preventing it.
Correct.
It's not. It's just not the same thing.
It's not. No. And that they set the mode. They set how that night is gonna end. So I feel that it's with all of what they're trying to do with the prevention of this list as well, as they're trying to, as we said, make awareness. But again, this list also has where people can get off of it after a certain point. And then some stay on for 20 years if they have more serious offenses.
I'm sorry about laughing.
I know. That's why I'm just sitting here going I'm going to work my way off.
Just
how
it's again,
so a few years up to 20 years is what I feel like once you're on there, you should be on there. I don't understand how you can redeem. So we're giving them 2 chances and then we're giving them a limit of when they can be. And that when you started laughing, I was like, I know why she's laughing. Because here's the thing, they don't do that with certain other laws. They don't do that with other certain lists. They have severities of people that go on lists. They have different kind of what you were charged, Megan's Law and the sex offender registry. This is not like that.
I'm going to be myself here and just go, what in the heck are they thinking? Like maybe they're getting too old to be able to abuse someone after 20 years or something. So we'll just take them off the registry. It feels like, what in the world are they?
Well, how do they even deem that they're eligible to be off that list?
That's the point.
We just assume?
We put them on that list because we're recognizing what a danger they are. At the same time, we're going to say, well, obviously they've done something, but we haven't put guidelines to that yet, that they might be able to be removed from that, but we'll determine that.
Well, let me give you an example that might blow your guys' mind a little bit here, just as like an age range. Let's say, someone gets a charge at 20 years old, goes onto that list, right? He's 40. He's 40 off the list. Do you think by 40, oh yeah, oh yeah, I really hurt these women in my 20s and now I'm 40. I'm ready to marry. Let's mingle. I'm off this list. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of it. What I'm trying to say is that's scary to me. That's scary.
Very, very scary. And then, see, that's the thing that to me that trivializes the experiences as survivors go through. So they're going to the point of making a public record of repeat offenses. But at the same time, basically, if you have good behavior, I don't know what else to call it. You go get treatment or whatever it is that they're thinking. You just get past that point. And this is the insidious part of it. A lot of them are good with maintaining those guidelines and then get beyond that, get out of it, and then they get going again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you leave a whole group of women who will not see that person on that registry again.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so he gets charged at 20. He's now 40. He's going on a dating website. I have no. Can't look him up now. I mean, same as like if it was a woman, can't look him up now.
So I can't even.
It's hard. That's just so scary to me.
Oh man. Well, do we want to go to some of the comments and see what some of our listeners are thinking? Because I am to a point I'm just astounded. I can't even deal. So
Good gracious. We got a good bit.
Oh, yes.
Let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry if I say, I believe it's Bianca. If I say that wrong. Yeah. It's Bianca? Okay. It's unfortunate it took one of them thin blue lines to lose their life to make a change. And it is. It's unfortunate that it had to, again, be one of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was a sheriff deputy that lost their life. And again, that it took her losing her life for someone to take this serious. We have Teresa saying, exactly, help doesn't come until it's too late. Unfortunately, that is a reality in domestic violence. And then she had a voice in the community, and most survivors don't have anyone. And you're right. You're right. And that doesn't demolish what happened to this woman, because that's horrible. Regardless if you're well known, but I definitely agree, and I think Tara agrees. Regardless of what stature you have in the community, you deserve the same respect, the same safety, the same kind of protection. There should no be society level, group, ethnicity, anything when it comes to protection for domestic violence. I agree 100%. Tara, I'll let you read the next one. I keep just going on.
No, you're good. It's not even safe to turn to friends and family because abusers will target whoever helps the victim. That is the truth. Our whole family ended up going through it while he was targeting her. It's astounding. Juanita asks if the live broadcast is the usual thing. Yes, every Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, same time. Facebook, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Yes.
So we have Teresa here again saying, then his attorney defended his behavior, saying he was trying to be a good citizen by trying to find employment, as if it excuses him giving me a concussion in front of my children. In front of your children. I'm telling you, I know I just made that face of shock, but But
Oh,
if
he's a productive member of society. He has a
he's
job.
trying to get a job, well, there's serial killers that go to their job every day and lead a productive. What? I'm sorry to be so blunt, but that is true. There's people out there that are criminals and live a 9 to 5 job.
Melissa has a very important question, too. Let's deal with this one. In Canada, Clara's law, cops generally have to be requested to check records, and specifically, they check the abuser's freedom of information records. Most cops give a hard time when you can call requesting this info. See, why do they have to make it so difficult? That I don't understand. I mean, they could easily document all of this online where everybody can see it and not have to what we had to do was go like county to county to county to look for it. Why isn't it just state records? I don't understand it. So did you see Melissa said, how do you get help when DV is not physical? When I explain my situation to others, the response is always, oh, he just is talking mess. I need a safe space. That talking could turn physical. Oh, it's hard when somebody doesn't understand. They think that somebody's all talk. But if you're feeling the fear inside of you that you know that it could flip, usually if there's one trusted friend you can go to. If not, there are support groups. There are people you can call. And we do have a support line with advocates who are survivors who could be there just to listen. If you want to call them, they'll put that number in the chat line there for you. So yeah. But take that seriously. Even if it's not physical, doesn't mean you're not being abused.
No,
and mental and emotional toil can be worse sometimes.
And it's also sometimes how their friends and family excuse their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Sometimes it's the way of, that's how he is when he's always been a jerk when he gets mad. He's always been a short fuse. But you also have to remember some of those people haven't been in an intimate relationship with him either. So they don't understand, the content of that. So as Tara said, if you feel it in your chest and your stomach and everywhere else, run with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also had Monica. I did bring her up when then you were talking about Melissa. So I was like, oh no, I brought up the wrong one. Also, you get thrown into poverty and children are forced to see DV parent.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. It does.
Yeah.
It affects us, more than a lot of people like to see.
And I agree with Teresa's comment about that a lot of abusers are narcissists as well, so it complicates it. Because when you have that the dynamic duo is what I like to call it, that makes it really horrible to deal with. It's very overwhelming, and the courts don't tend to see it, and neither does anyone else around you. So yes, we agree, Teresa. So okay, I think this is a good place to take our mid break. We're just going to take a break for just a short while, play you a quick video on volunteering. We are always at the beginning of a new year looking for new volunteers, so we're looking for people who can help on such things like our support line or moderate the podcast or help create content or engage with people through our social medias. So if you're interested in joining us as a volunteer, this is the information for you, and we'll be right back.
At BTSADV, every survivor deserves to feel seen, supported, and safe. But we can't do this work alone. When you volunteer with BTSADV, you're not just giving your time, you're giving hope. Hope to survivors rebuilding their lives. Hope to children who've lost a parent to domestic violence. Hope to families healing after trauma. We have volunteer opportunities for every skill set. Support line volunteers who answer calls with compassion. Graphics creators who build our educational posts and campaigns. editors who turn podcasts into powerful short-form videos, social engagement volunteers who help keep our pages safe, podcast moderators who guide conversation and protect survivors live, website editors who help publish survivor stories and resources, and video reel creators who bring awareness to millions. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need special degrees. You just need a willingness to show up with courage and empathy. We train you. We support you. We walk with you every step of the way. If you've ever wanted to make a difference, if you've ever said, "I wish I could help," this is your moment. Join our volunteer team. Stand with survivors. Be part of something life-changing. BTS ADV, where survivors find connection, support, and hope. At BTS ADV.
All right, we are back, and we are talking about the Tennessee Domestic Violence Registry that has been voted in and just started being enacted. And I think one of the hardest things for me to accept about the system and something like this is that we're only tracking what has already been proven. You know, where someone has crossed the legal line already. So when people say this registry will keep people safe, we have to be honest on it. It will keep some people safe, maybe. It might help validate patterns for some people, and it might prevent a few situations out there, but it cannot stop first harm. And it only responds to harm when it has already happened. And so the registry doesn't track the danger, it only tracks where it has already failed to stop it. Really. So, that has an emotional impact, Amanda. How survivors are only believed after something severe happens. And so again, the registry make people feel safer. I understand that because it feels like you're getting some kind of a little bit of a control, like some information and protection is available to you. But it's back to that whole thing of, yeah, but proof, right?
Mhm.
And my thing is, why not stop it before they do it to a point of someone is dead or
Well,
in
could you?
hospital or, you know?
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
and I'm also like empathizing for the survivors who's like, oh, I guess I was the one that, got him on the list, but I'm glad that everybody else after me is protected. And I mean, I see both sides. I'm not saying that, oh, because I've gotten beaten, everybody else has to know. That's not what I was saying. But I can understand, even as like a mother, you could understand that as a mother, Tara. Like, okay, so my child was the example, my daughter, or I was the example for him to get on that registry.
Mhm.
Like, I wasn't scared, but so, I mean, again, I feel like that is, as you said, the last resort. That's the last act. I wish we would talk about more prevention for not having to get severe in order for them to have to be deemed of this. Because, I mean, we always say it takes one time. It
Right.
takes So why are we waiting for two?
Right. Well, and I want to be really careful here because it's easy to talk about everything the registry doesn't do, right? And forget
Right.
that some people, this registry will matter. That's
Oh,
great. And it's applaudable. Um, it's not sweeping, though.
it's
It's
not.
not going to be world changing, like
No.
the bigger picture of the world. And it definitely is not going to fix everything right away.
But it
But
does with accountability.
Yes, and the registry will mean that patterns are finally being acknowledged,
Mhm.
and that's a good thing. That for survivors, we're not totally being dismissed, we're not totally being minimalized or explained away. You know, we're actually being acknowledged, and that alone can be very empowering.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's, as we talk about, there's going to be movements that aren't going to be everything we want it to be, right? Like, we can't solve domestic violence in one law. I mean, that's why there's advocacy and different things. I do think that this is going to be good for certain aspects of things. I think that it will help certain people. I do think it will bring light to certain offenders, that it will stop them in their tracks. And I do see that, where they won't take on years of this, because there's men who are serial abusers and do it for years, and are not being caught. So I do think that's great. I just do think, again, as women and men, when we're choosing to date people, we have to be also, concerned, with our knowledge of making sure that we trust our gut, and that if they're not even on this registry list, don't use that as the know all end all, because they might end up on it. It's just they're not there yet. Um,
Right.
it's safe to, make sure that you can make those decisions for yourself as well, without needing that proof at times. And, you are valid in the way you feel and want to protect yourself. And I think that's important, because we are very much always kind of talked down from situations as survivors, especially when we're in domestic violence. We get it from friends, we'll get it from families. Sometimes we'll get it from our parents or siblings, or, like you. I think you really need to just take a break, and you're getting all upset, and you can be really, and I think we all can say, hey, I know how I feel. I know I'm scared, and I have the right. So, either way, I think it's great. But I always want to say, trust your instincts too.
Yeah. Because this registry, it's going to be for some people, um, you know, a very simple way that you're being told you're not imagining things. And it's going to help with court cases, even
Mhm.
custody cases.
Absolutely.
If there's a history there, and that can be brought up, you know, survivors are going to be able to be helped, because this will help frame it in a way of, see, they were the problem. They
Right.
have a history. Um, and for survivors out there who've spent many years, in abuse, it helps with doubt and guilt and being dismissed and all the years of gaslighting. Um,
Mhm.
Things like that, it's going to be really helpful.
Right.
But this does have, it's not as all encompassing as we would love it to be.
No, no. I mean, I agree, and I don't think not everything will that can be in a law. It's just, don't lose hope in it either, just because it's not. I think these are good changes, because we haven't seen stuff like this before. This is good things. I think that there's small steps, but the fact that they're recognizing this enough to make a registry is huge, and to expose these people is huge. So I think that it can benefit, definitely, in ways.
I think the hardest thing for me as an advocate and as a mother looking at it, um, it's real easy to go, oh wow, this is progress. But it's even harder for me to say and tell the community out there right now and look you in the eye and say, but it still isn't enough. And both things can be true at the same time, but because this is so serious and reporting can be so dangerous, reporting can make things worse. And
Absolutely.
reporting can escalate things. It can trigger retaliation. I mean, it can cost you your housing, your kids, your job, your safety, all those things. And Many times police officers don't take the report.
Mm-mm.
We've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
The reports, they never press charges. They never make a paper trail.
Nope. Or they're threatening both parties, or it's just
It's a he said, she said.
and we have to come out here again. You're both going to jail.
Call us back if it gets worse. Oh, I heard that one. Call us back if it gets worse. How much worse do you want?
You're like, I don't want that.
Oh,
Can we
yeah.
make it stop now? Yeah.
So these are the things on the side that, this is still in the system. It's not going to be helpful.
It's not bulletproof. No.
No. But it's a start.
It is a start. And again, I mean, this is only helpful to the people that are going to check the registry too. Not everybody is going to always check these registries. It's not like when you meet someone, you immediately get, hey, I heard you met so and so today. Here's their registry. That is something that you would have to actually look yourself, as well. So this is where we say it's all about advocating for yourself and making sure you're looking out for yourself in these situations, because it definitely, I've been there where I've talked to someone and I felt something in my gut and I was like, and I ignored it. And these are the instances where you can take up and actively look at this person, and be able to see. Because again, I think that the one thing that we have a hard time as survivors is we were always talked down. We were always told things weren't as bad as that one comment. That's just how he is when he gets upset, or he just talks, right? He just talks. He's a talker. So we want to make sure that we are looking into these things ourselves, because we can't always, because sometimes their friends and their family is their biggest accomplished. They definitely will cover for them. They are the flying monkeys in these people's life. So again, there's no shame in using these resources, even if you're dating someone and it's just something that you've been a domestic violence survivor. I think these are great tools, but again, always use, your instincts and what you feel is best for yourself, because I don't, as Tara said, I don't think these are always going to be 100% have everybody on there that needs to be on there.
And what I worry about more than anything, of course, I'm an older generation. I came from a generation where, they definitely didn't arrest like they do now.
Mhm.
Everybody was told to go take a walk, cool down, that kind of thing. What I want to be sure is that the younger generations coming up, when they look at this, something like this, they don't take into their head a lot of what my generation or my mother's generation did of, well, if it wasn't a physical thing where it could be proven, like what this they're asking as a requirement for this registry, um, then it wasn't abuse. And that's my greatest fear, that we have to be proactive and have these discussions to let this next generation know of, just because he's not on a registry doesn't mean it wasn't abuse. It looks like love. It looks like protectiveness. It looks like jealousy and concern and all those things. It looks like the normal relationship. But when there's coercive control, when there's financial issues or restrictions, or they're isolating you, they're intimidating you without any kind of bruises on you, that kind of thing doesn't cross a legal line. And we don't want this to turn into a boomerang kind of effect where it comes back around to society saying that these things really aren't abuse.
Correct.
And that's my greatest fear, that I want to be sure, like, as survivors out there in the public, that we're using our voices to be sure that this next generation sees that and is aware of that and knows what to do because of that, and for them not to depend on the system to tell them what they experienced was this or that or the other.
Right. And that's the thing that's scary because, again, as you said, we don't want people to think that they're downgrading their abuse or they're not deserve safety or leaving because they haven't hit that second offense. You know, why do we have to work for it? And that's basically, it shouldn't have to be that way. And I remember actively thinking that in my abuse, and I don't know if you did, Tara, but I did. I would like, oh, but this incident wasn't bad enough to call the cops, or this incident, I don't have enough bruises on me.
And that's what I'm afraid of. Yeah.
I did it. When you were saying, I did it. So I know where it is to be in that mind frame because you're gaslighting your own self out of calling the cops or trying to get help. Because, listen, you can go and write all the affidavits you need to write for them, but that doesn't mean he's going. And I've been there where I've read all these affidavits of incidents, but he wasn't arrested. They were just like, oh, we'll keep this in the and then, but there's not enough marks on you. There's not enough proof for us to take him in, but we'll write this affidavit. I just need you to come down and write your, I'm like, where did and that's the thing. I fulfill that it's good and great to have precautions, but well, that's scary to me when we start making women think they have to work for protection. It has to be worse, right? It has to be worse.
Right.
Sometimes worse is life or death, right? I mean, we don't always understand what we're playing with fire.
Well, and in this instance, if you're the first woman, you're especially going to have to work it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Oh, we're getting near the close of our time. We want to go through some other comments,
Yeah.
see if there's any other questions or anything.
Let's see here. If it got worse for me, I would have been dead. They would have been no calling it. I'm running for my life with nothing but the clothes on my back and $9 hitchhike from Washington State to California. Wow.
Wow.
That's
You've
quite a
got
journey.
an incredible story with the details you're giving us. We're glad
That's,
you joined.
yeah. Let me see. We've got a question here from Wing Jade. How do you turn in a man that exposes women?
I'm not sure what you mean by exposes. Can you give me a little more insight of what you mean?
Yeah, I definitely like to ask, like, yeah, more in depth on that so we can answer that appropriately for you because I definitely would love to address that. And we got a good afternoon, Tara and Amanda. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, Nina, I'm glad you're back. We've seen you a few times in here. We're glad to see you. And Laura. Laura is back too.
Hi, Laura. Mine would tell the police I was on drugs and mentally unwell and cheating on him, and then the fights were about. They believed this for 6 years before my daughter spoke up, then they listened. She demanded they deal with him. She witnessed so much, it wasn't for her, I would be dead. She watched me scream for 6 years to be acknowledged, seen, and heard. I am so glad that your daughter was able to help you get some justice with that, and that was probably healing for her as well, for sure. And then Anita said, I've written a book. I'm sorry, I'm written about this under the Gus of Fiction. Is that correct, Tara? Gus of
The
Fiction?
guys, yeah,
Guys.
she's written it like a fiction. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And she said she could do anything to help. Anything I could do to help.
Well, you can volunteer if you have the time, or if you're interested in coming on here and telling us our story, you can do that too. Go to our website and apply. We would love to have you. I was just kind of waiting to see if we got a response from the one question, because from Wing Jade, because I don't want to.
No, I don't want to skip over that. But if you
Yeah.
do, comment, let us know, because we would definitely
Well,
like
and
to.
anybody listening and watching, if you have some ideas to give her some advice, please put that in the
Yeah,
comments for her.
absolutely.
So,
And yeah, you can apply to volunteer from Canada for sure.
yes, we do accept volunteers from Canada, except for on website
But
and
everything else,
but
yeah,
everything else, yes.
absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Wayne, I was hoping to be able to answer your question. Uh, so if I see it in here after the closing monologue, I'll see if we can answer it. But I'm going to go ahead and close out for everyone here because we unpacked a lot today. That's for sure. So when you definitely hear about laws like this, they want you to believe they mean that they're hearing you and that they're solving something, right? So they want to believe, make the public believe we've learned from you, we've grown from you, we figured this out, and maybe we can do this a little bit to help. And that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Sometimes it takes baby steps, but I think it's important to say out loud this registry is definitely a step. It's not a solution. It validates patterns that are happening, but it doesn't prevent the first harm. It acknowledges things like ah, it repeating its cycle, but it doesn't stop things like escalation and it helps document danger, but it doesn't catch it early. And it doesn't reach most of the people who are living it right now. So if you're listening to this and thinking, this wouldn't have helped me, you're probably right. Or if you're thinking the otherwise, this could have helped me, you're probably right as well. Um, if you're thinking my abuse wouldn't qualify for something like this, yeah, you may be right. You may be right. And that no one may have taken me seriously anyway. That's the tendency, unfortunately. Uh, it doesn't mean you're wrong.
No, no.
It means the system is still catching up.
Yeah.
They need to put it into some overdrive.
Yeah,
You know,
there's still broken parts, guys. Yeah,
yeah, this law exists because for a very long time patterns didn't matter.
absolutely.
Fear, instinct, all those early warning signs, all of that didn't matter. Only the outcomes did. And that's not safety. That's with a society reacting out of aftermath. So if you were ever told you're like overreacting or being yeah, too dramatic, it wasn't that bad yet, or to wait. You know, this law helps establish a proof of patterns that will matter,
Absolutely.
even if the system doesn't want to admit it yet. And if you're still in something that doesn't look dramatic enough to be believed, I want you to hear this very clearly. You don't have to be broken. You don't have to be injured. You don't have to wait till it gets so bad that you have to look for safety. You deserve safety. So please be safe.
Yeah.
And this registry may be a step forward, but real protection doesn't come from a database. It comes from believing people sooner. So if you have someone out there who has experienced domestic violence, believe them and believe them soon and early. And the question should be all about asking, um, how can I help you, not what the law needs.
Right.
because until we change our attitude about that, nothing's going to change. We need to look at what real protection looks like. If we believe survivors at the first time they come to you and speak about it. And that's where things will really start to change. So, did she happen to answer, Amanda?
I did not see anything come in yet. Let me double check. No, I did not.
No. But if you come in and get, somebody will come in and give you some more clarification. So even though we're closing out. So some real quick announcements before we go. I want to say if what we've talked about stirred something new, brought up memories or questions or feelings, and you weren't expecting that, you don't have to carry that alone. This is called Through the Eyes of Survivors for a reason, because survival isn't just about what's happening, it's about what we still carry too. And so if you're a survivor, you won't have a very important story, or you just want to ask a question or anything along those lines, you can email us at podcast@breakthesilencedv.org. We do read them. If you're looking for a community and you have these questions, where we might try that is email your full detailed question over to us at the podcast email for Survivor to Survivor. We do have that segment, comes out every Friday, where I answer y'all's questions, not by an expert, just a real survivor talking to another survivor. So you can do that as well. And they are every Friday at 5 p.m. And if you need any kind of support or want to donate, or we do have a store, you can shop at our store to help support us and our campaigns. You can do that at our website at www.breakthesilencedv.org. And you can share your story there as well. You can share it anonymously. We have a survivor story section where people have submitted their stories, and you can go in and read about other survivors there as well. And also a blog section. Of course, we have our support line that is available 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 days a week. That number is 1-855-BES 1777. If you miss that, it'll be in the comments and in the descriptions. And you don't have to know exactly what to say. These are survivors who are there to help, to listen, to provide resources. It's not a crisis line, but we can help you. They can help you with safety planning if that's what you need. And finally, don't forget us over on TikTok. We'd like to really grow that, because we'd like to do some lives over there where you guys can get in there and actually really respond to us and be talking as well. We need at least 1,000 subscribers in order to do that. So find us over at TikTok. It's BTSADV7. And every Wednesday and Sunday, we drop the Narc Diaries over there, which is where people write in all the horrible things their narcissists say. And I guess, man, after I read those, some people out there just need real help. That's all I got to say. Some of the things the narcissists say is just crazy, the manipulation and the gaslighting that so many people out there are enduring. So check those out over there. And we will see you next week here on Through the Eyes of Survivors. And we look forward to seeing you then. And just remember, silence protects abusers, not us survivors. So speak out. And we'll see you next time. We hope you're enjoying this episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. We wanted to pause for a moment and let you know that Through the Eyes of Survivors has a shop now open. And this is a great way for you to not only help survivors of domestic violence, but also let everyone know that you will not be silent about this important cause. From t-shirts to bags to coffee mugs, we have so much to choose from. To grab your swag, head to our store at breakthesilencedv.org. That's store.breakthesilencedv.org. We can't say enough about how much we appreciate all that the community does to help support us and this organization. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode and continue to subscribe to future episodes. Thank you.